Welcome back to the PowerPoint series of video tutorials from Activia training. In our next tutorial, we're going to have a look at formatting slide backgrounds. So the first thing I need to do is get PowerPoint up and running, and I'm going to open up an example presentation there working with slide backgrounds. Okay, so this will be available on our website if you want to follow through. Okay, so we've got here a standard presentation, a number of slides there with some bullet points and titles, okay, and a small graphic in the corner. The rest of the slide is unfortunately quite dull. Just a plain white background. I want to make that a little bit more exciting. Okay, so I need to format the background of the slide. Okay, we can do that in a number of ways. If I click on the Design tab, you can see we've got our design gallery, of course, and hovering over some of those designs, well, it will format the background for me. Okay, now I don't want to use one of the built-in designs. I want to create my own design. Okay, so one way of doing that is to format the background. On the right hand side of the design tab, we've got format background. I'm going to give it a click, and in PowerPoint 2013 the formatting window opens up on the right hand side in its own little panel. Early versions of PowerPoint, that will open up in a floating dialog. Okay, but much the same commands will be available. Now, I can format the background of the slide in a number of ways. The first way is to give it a solid fill. So that's what's selected at the moment, and it has got a background, it's just that the background is white. Okay, so choosing solid fill there, I can then choose a solid fill color. Okay, so either using one of the theme colors or a standard color. Now remember, if we use theme colors and then subsequently change the theme color will change to match. We can, of course, go down to more colors and then pick from a range of standard colors or enter RGB numbers to get our own custom color. I'll cancel out of that. I'm going to use one of the standard colors. Let's go for a pale yellow there. Okay, and there you go. The background color is applied to the slide I'm currently on. Now, if I want to apply that to all slides down at the bottom, I can click apply to all, and if I decide I don't like it, then I can reset the background and we're back to where we started. Okay, so solid fill there. Now let's try a gradient fill, so a little bit more exciting. And the idea behind a gradient fill is we will get a gradient, so it will slowly fade from one color to another, and you can see immediately that it has applied a gradient fill to the background. Okay, so this is a linear gradient, and it's going from white to blue to a lighter blue at the bottom. Okay, we can control the gradient in a number of ways. So first of all, there's a range of preset gradients. Let's try a couple of those. So a gradient yellow and a bit of a darker blue there from the top. Okay, so I'll keep that one for the moment. I can also set a type. Okay, so that preset was a radial, so radial is going to go from a central point and radiate out. Okay, but I could go for a linear or a rectangular. Okay, so I think I'm going to stick, I'm going to go to linear. Now, when I choose linear, I've got to decide which direction that linear gradient will come from. So mine at the moment is coming from the top corner down to the bottom right. I want it go top to bottom, so linear down. Okay, so I've got white at the top and blue at the bottom. Now those colors are controlled by the gradient stops here. Okay, so each one of these controls part of the gradient. So on the left hand side here, this is the white color and the blue on the right. And you can see as I move that gradient stop left and right, the proportion of the blue color changes at the bottom. If I abut it right up to the whites, then I get pretty much a solid line. Okay, so using the gradient stops and moving them around allows me to adjust how the gradient will appear. The colors, well, I click a gradient stop and then just below I can pick a different color. Okay, so I want mine to go from that pale yellow at the top, and that's gonna go into a darker yellow in the middle, and then right at the end a much darker yellow, like that. I can add my own, so on the right hand side I can click add gradient stop, and there's another one. So let's see, the third gradient, not quite a darker yellow. Oops, too light again. That one, and then it goes dark. Okay, so I can have it fade proportionately from one color to another. If I go too far, I can always remove a stop like that. Okay, so back to pretty much where we were at that point. Okay, so for each of the gradient stops, we can also change the transparency. So fully transparent, and actually you can see the slide background shown through there, or adjust it proportionately, and of course change the brightness of that gradient. Let's make it a little bit brighter there. Okay, perfect. Now one thing you will notice, I'm applying a gradient to the background. Down at the bottom right hand corner, the original graphics are still there. I may want that, but if I'm putting on a background image, I may want to get rid of any graphics that were actually introduced by the master itself. So at the top, I can choose to hide those background graphics. Now I think in my case, I'm going to leave them on, but very easy to remove the background graphics. Okay, so we can choose a solid fill or a gradient fill. And what else? Well, let's see, a picture fill. Okay, so I can choose a picture or a textured fill. Now it has immediately applied a texture to the background of my slide. Okay, so to change that texture a little bit further down here, I can pick from a built-in range of textures. Let's go for some water droplets or some fossilized fish. Okay, so these are all built into PowerPoint. I can apply a transparency to that, and lots of different settings here to allow me to control how that texture appears. Okay, so these texture files actually are very small graphics, and they're tiled on top of each other, or sorry, rather tiled alongside each other. If I take the tick off tile, then you'll actually see what that texture file looks like. It doesn't look too good stretched out like that, so I'll tick tile, and then we get those shown. Alright, so a range of textures that I can pick from there. Alternatively, I can use a background picture. So let's click File. Okay, I'm going to head for my Support Files folder, and in there I've got a few background pictures that I can use. So let's go for background 2. Okay, and there is my background picture. Let's try another one. File, and background 1. And there you go. I think this time I'm going to hide my graphics, and they've gone. Okay, so perfect. The other alternative would be to use a patterned fill. So I'll click patterned fill, and we have a range of patterns that we can apply. Okay, and down at the bottom, I can choose a background color and a foreground color for that. Okay, so I think having done that, I may go back to my picture fill, and that's the one for me. Okay, so that's not too bad. I click apply to all, and one by one, there it is. Close down, format background, and there is my presentation formatted with a nice background ready to go. Okay, so I hope you found that short tutorial useful. I look forward to seeing you on the next video tutorial.